In the world of economic development, two facts are very evident. First, the world is becoming a much smaller place, putting the emphasis on a global economy. Second, the future of that economy is dependent on relationships. As the North American home of international companies like BMW and Mitsubishi Polyester, the city of Greer is very much a part of that economic melting pot. The State Ports Authority's proposed inland port in Greer further emphasizes the role the city will play in the Upstate's future as a global place to do business. The opportunity arose for City of Greer Mayor Rick Danner to visit China and Japan this month to not only strengthen existing relationships, but also to cultivate new ones. His first stop is Tianjin, China, where he'll be an ambassador for the Upstate in Greenville's sister city. He'll also participate in the World Economic Forum's annual meeting of the new champions in Tianjin, and will then join South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley and other state officials in Japan for the Southeast U.S. and Japan Association's meeting in Tokyo. With his new business cards in hand, the mayor will share the news that the city of Greer and upstate South Carolina is a great place to do business.
The impetus of the trip goes back quite some time, several months. Knox White had called me to discuss the possibility of going to Tianjin, China with him for a sister city visit. The city of Greenville has a sister city relationship with Tianjin, China, and on a biannual basis they host their sister cities there in Tianjin, and Knox felt like that it would be a good opportunity for him to take another local elected official, sort of in hopes of broadening the impact that Greenville could bring to the table. Tianjin has a relationship with about 20 to 25 other sister cities around the world, and if you look at the list, it's quite amazing. Prague, Vienna, Paris, Rome. I mean, it's just kind of a who's who from around the world. And so when you start looking at the size of the cities, Greenville is by far and away the smallest of the cities. And so he wanted to help bring some more impact to that, and I thought it might be a good idea if I was able to join him. So we had been in discussions about this for some time, at least a couple of months. Many European countries, and certainly the Asian countries, take their sister city relationships very seriously, and they sort of take it to a whole nother level. It is a very active, ongoing relationship. It is one that in some cases is reciprocated, and particularly in the case of Tianjin, they have an office located in Greenville that they have a person there to act as their ambassador. So it's a little bit unusual. In the States, we don't quite take it to that extent, but it is a very formal, structured program in a lot of other countries, and Greenville has had much success with their program in Tianjin and both in Bergamo, Italy as well too. So that's where the idea for the trip started. Tianjin is a city of 13 million people, so it is much larger than the city of Greenville, but from a regional basis, which has been the way Knox has been able to sell it to the folks in Tianjin, there is at least some comparison. As we moved forward in regards to the opportunities that trip might afford me to join him on that official visit, he suddenly had a change of plans due to his work and wasn't going to be able to go, and offered very graciously to have the invitation transferred to me so I could represent Greenville and Greer, the Upstate. I would be an ambassador for the Upstate at the conference, and so I proceeded with making plans to do that, and was very, very fortunate to find out that the Upstate Alliance was planning a trip to China at the same period of time. And so as I began to look at the calendar and look at the travel arrangements, found out that simultaneous to the Sister City Conference going on in Tianjin, that the World Economic Forum would be happening in Tianjin at the same time. and that the Southeastern United States Japanese Conference would be happening in Tokyo. So just all sort of came together kind of at the last minute, and Hal Johnson and the Upstate Alliance were putting together a trip to China, and so I've been able to combine all of those very neatly in about a 2-week trip. So it's worked out. Yeah, I think we have to understand the dynamics of a sister city relationship that I alluded to just a minute ago. I don't foresee that we will have a one-on-one relationship with Tianjin. Knox's ability to establish that relationship on a city-to-city basis is actually pretty amazing, because when you look at the other cities that are in that relationship, you're talking about world capitals and cities of 1 million plus people. So the fact that he's been able to establish a relationship speaks highly of his ability and of the Greenville area as a global market. What I do see that there is truly opportunity in is this regional approach, and I think that's very valid, because Greenville markets itself using an upstate kind of a marketing approach that is based on their MPO, and we're certainly part of that MPO. So I see my role in this as being an ambassador for Greer as Greenville represents the upstate, and I think that's where our real opportunity is. If we can establish this relationship where they know who we are and we know them, certainly when they're in Greenville the next time, or Knox is in Tianjin, they'll know who we are, they'll know what products we offer, they'll know more about the port. When they come here to visit with Mayor White and the Greenville contingent, certainly that'll give us an opportunity to show them around in Greer. And so that's what I see the main role of my function in this trip being. Well, it's certainly important to us, but it's even more important to the Chinese. This is a new concerted effort by the Chinese government as they modernize and westernize their business model. They have come to understand that as a global provider, as a global player, that they cannot restrict their businesses solely to mainland China. And so what they have begun to do is to look for outbound markets, not only for their product, but certainly for their manufacturing processes, for distribution and that sort of thing. So there is actually some encouragement from the Chinese government to their business community to reach beyond their sort of traditional limits. The good thing about this is there's a fair amount of pent-up demand among the business community to do that. And so there are a lot of organizations, businesses in China that are looking to get a foothold outside of China. So it's a perfect opportunity time-wise right now for us to put a face with these efforts. The Global Economic Conference is going to be an opportunity for me to engage in, not as actively engage as I will at the Sister City Conference, which actually at the Sister City Conference there will be one-on-one dialogue. There is a period of time during that conference that you literally engage around a round table in a discussion about what's going on in your city or your area or that sort of thing. The format's going to be a lot more traditional in the World Economic Conference. There will be educational opportunities that I'll be able to engage in terms of a classroom structure. But the exciting thing about it is this particular forum brings 12 to 1,500 businessmen, scientists, academias. It brings all different disciplines together under this umbrella of global economic development. So I think there's going to be the opportunity, even though it's going to be limited. I think I've only got a full day, maybe a day and a half there, but the chance to hear some of the kinds of speakers that they'll have lined up there will certainly be once in a lifetime. It is critical in terms of broadening both the appeal of our community and the quality of life in our community. You know, one of the things that I am particularly proud of is that for a town the size of ours to have the kind of international representation that it does throughout this community, both at the business level and at the citizen level, is incredible. You find very few towns that have the kind of international diversity that we find here. And I think the thing that I find the most appealing about that is that I believe it helps raise the expectation of the quality of standard of living. It certainly brings a new perspective from those citizens to our town. And what that does is it helps keep us engaged as a community in broadening our appeal, whether or not that is festivals, with an Oktoberfest, whether or not it is offerings from our recreation department. You know, do we offer cricket? You know, is there a demand for cricket in our area? But it kind of keeps us on our toes, and I think it makes us a better community. I don't know, one of the things that I had hoped to accomplish in that particular visit was a meeting with the leadership team from the Mitsubishi organization that has the plant here in Greer. The folks from the Mitsubishi plant here in Greer have very, very graciously worked hard to try and arrange that visit. It's just not going to happen on this particular trip because of the travel schedules and the business schedules of the leadership team in Japan. So I'll not have that opportunity, but fortunately they're going to be in Greer in the month of October, and I'll get a chance to thank them at that point in time for their presence here in Greer. That portion of the trip was really set to be a retention visit more than anything else, to thank them. Nevertheless, we are going to have an opportunity to be a part of the Southeastern United States Japanese Consortium. It's a group that meets annually, and they alternate those visits between the U.S. and Japan. This is going to be an opportunity for our governor to appear at that forum and to give an overview of business in South Carolina. I will be there along with the folks from the Commerce Department, and we will be working the crowd. So my role is going to be pass out as many of my new Japanese business cards as I possibly can. Well, it's been very fortuitous. This whole trip has sort of come together from just one invitation, and now includes 3 or 4 different opportunities and a chance to get in front of a number of different folks over the course of 2 different weeks. And then the announcement about the port is just kind of the icing on the cake, really, for this particular trip. This is going to open up a whole new dialogue for me in terms of representing Greer, because one of the things that we have come to understand is that the port is critical to the upstate. The Charleston port is critical to the upstate. We now add a caveat to that the upstate port is even more critical to the success of the upstate. This is going to give us the ability to talk to folks that are going to be using the port in Charleston that will effectively convey to them that in one mode of operation, they're going to be able to land stuff in the upstate seamlessly now in such a fashion that it's going to open up a whole new market to them. And for those folks that are producing products and materials for a manufacturing process that is an on-time manufacturing process, this is really critical to that logistical process. The other thing that it does is it works in reverse as well, too. It extends South Carolina's ability to reach into North Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, some of the other southeastern United States and give them port access that they might not necessarily normally have at their own coast, or a direct link to a coast. So with the combination of the deepening of the port in Charleston and the Upstate facility, we have now opened up Greer literally to the world. Well, I think they're going to be very simple. Economic development, particularly in the Asian culture, is a matter of building a relationship. And so the emphasis of this particular trip is going to be to begin to establish those relationships. As you mentioned earlier, the Tianjin Sister City effort has been going on now for nearly 10 years. That has involved 2 or 3 trips on behalf of the mayor of Greenville to Tianjin, and reciprocal trips. And they've just recently gotten their first real commitment to Greenville for a Chinese company to locate a film manufacturing facility there. So I'm not truly expecting to come home with signed documents from anybody. What I hope this is the beginning of a long-term relationship that we can build on. The other thing, I guess, and this is really what is particularly exciting to me about this particular trip, is that in addition to the opportunities I'll have from the economic development standpoint, the educational opportunities are going to be tremendous. The chance to be a part of the Sister City Conference, to sit and to listen to other mayors talk about what's going on in their city. I believe the theme this year is building livable cities. Very, very timely in terms of what we're trying to do here in Greer, and to hear those folks talk about the things that they're doing, I think is going to be good. The opportunity to go to the World Economic Forum, to be a part of the Southeastern Chinese Consortium is going to be great. To have that particular component as well as the economic development trip is really kind of a home run, and wouldn't necessarily be the kind of opportunity that I would have. I had the opportunity to go with Hal Johnson and the folks from the Upstate Alliance to visit with a number of BMW suppliers, and at the time, the Spartanburg Regional Hospital System was working with some German suppliers on their renovations of their emergency room facilities and their operating rooms, and went and met with some of the suppliers for those folks. And so it was a great opportunity. A little bit different model trip, but nevertheless one that I know the MO of the Upstate Alliance, and that is they don't let grass grow under their feet when they're in a foreign country, so they'll keep us busy. Well, and it's a question that does need to be answered. I've been very, very fortunate in terms of the fact that there is some sponsorship from local businesses that are going to assist me with the travel portion of the trip. They were very gracious to extend that opportunity to me. The Sister City Conference is being paid for by Tianjin government. That is, my invitation from them includes my accommodations while I'm there. So that was a help. The Upstate Alliance is going to take care of part of the costs while I'm in China, and funds that I had in my re-election campaign will cover the rest of the costs. So will not cost the taxpayers a dime for me to go out and offer to try and bring some new business to our city, so it works out for everybody. Well, I think you have to approach it as a long-term project. I really do. I don't think on an economic development trip like this that you are looking for immediate results. The one thing that I do think is going to be immediate, and I learned this from the Germany trip and from travel in general, is the immediate impact from a trip like this is the new perspective that you gain from talking to other mayors, talking to other business leaders, seeing what other towns and cities are doing, seeing the kinds of things that they're engaged in. That insight is invaluable. And it's one of the things that I've stressed even here among our council is that one of the biggest threats to the status quo is to travel, is to see other places and to see what other people are doing and to see the kinds of things that can be done. And to have the ability to go and to see what other towns are doing, to see how economic development and global business takes place in that particular setting, I think is something that I will immediately be able to bring back and to begin to transfer in some form or fashion to our city and to our council.